So did you notice that today there's the Python meetup at the same time? And they have a, last talk is refactoring to Rust. I'm not sure if Python is going to be around. Anyway, welcome to my leadership workshop. This was the template. I use Google Slides. They have this leadership workshop template. I think it's nice, right? So, hello, I'm Matti Paksula. Been doing Ruby on Rails since 2005, I think. And my first Ruby Brigade meetup talk was in 2007 or 8, in the very first Ruby Brigade or something like that, somewhere in Malminkartano. It was about Facebook apps with Rails, when you still could make these kind of Facebook apps that spam your whole profile page. Anyway, kind of recently I've been doing a company called AppGyver. Had a lot of Rails there. It was, and kind of still is, mobile app builder for iOS and Android, where you can drag and drop stuff together. That got sold to SAP. It's nowadays called Build Apps. So Build Apps quickly with low code. Got like rebranded, still alive, kicking well. Not sure how much Rails there is. I'm no longer involved. Then after that, I became kind of like an independent software artist, and I started a company called Supervisor.com, where we spawn a lot of web browsers that load test your website or monitor it 24/7. I will maybe show something later on from that. Of course, everything's Rails. Like everything's Rails that can be Rails. Then I also been helping out this company called Verge Motorcycles. It's like a Tesla for two-wheelers. It's a Finnish company, factories in Tallinn. There's a Ruby inside of this motorcycle. And there's a Rails in the cloud where all of these motorcycles talk to, because they have LTE connectivity and that. And Verge is hiring, by the way. I'm not hiring, Verge is hiring.
Is the owner nicer?
Sorry?
Is the owner nicer than Tesla?
Yes, not the fascist.
All right.
Then also I'm maybe helping Kaalimato. There's Ruby inside of Kaalimato. Kaalimato is not hiring, to my knowledge. but there is, it's mainly written with Java, but like there's some beautiful Ruby parts. I'll also be helping now this company called Good to Know. It's a small-scale startup. It's on Rails. It's like Shazam for cars. Like you can take a picture of your car or any car, and it gives you the details and uses AI. Then I also good friends run this SailMate. It's an old company built on top of Rails. Still on Rails. Rails is awesome. So anyway, today I was supposed to talk about TracePoint because I try to do my best with contributing to the Ruby community. I just joined the the Helsinki Ruby RU with my individual contribution because I think the 500 euros is too much for my small company. So yeah, one way to keep this alive is that you talk. So talk. So TracePoint. It's a built-in Ruby class, whatever. It's kind of nicer API for this kernel something. So basically what it does is that you have this Ruby method. See, my examples are way simpler than those pop quiz things. I was probably the last one because I'm not a fan of that kind of thing. So anyway, def greet Ruby Brigade. So let's bring in TracePoint. We put TracePoint here in the middle, and basically now we can define that we want to monitor like for any call that gets done, and then we say trace enable. So that's the basic gist of it. Maybe some of you have used it, and it's used for stuff like here's some net HTTP get something. If you want to know what's happening inside, you add TracePoint on top of it. and then you get some kind of inspection of what's happening. So usually it looks like this when somebody uses TracePoint. Like you basically, you only use it when you kind of have to, and if you know about it, and then it's like outputting a bunch of stuff in here. And I was like, I can't read that, so I say to ChatGPT, like, can you, ChatGPT is my only friend. I tried to bring him, but he was busy. Like put something like this there, or like I just make it nice. So ChatGPT says, got you. So we're monitoring the calls and then putting them to kind of heat map. And then ChatGPT made this thing for me where it makes it look nice. So like the TracePoint collects the calls, and then you can add some ChatGPT on top of it, and you have like way more interesting outputs from it than your usual TracePoint. It's also used to catch stuff like if somebody has written race, they never find me, and then they rescue it silently. So these things are of course horrible, but if you add some TracePoint on top of it, you do get to see that there was a race, because race gets called, it's just rescued. And then it can also be used to spot like evals in the code, for example, if you load some gem or whatever, you don't know what's it gonna do. So quick way to find out is just define some trace pointing on top of it. Like if there's a code that just randomly evals a string from the internet, it gets called like this. So there are many use cases for TracePoint. You can say to ChatGPT to come up with more, and it comes up with more. So that was kind of the normal use, but because I'm not normal, I asked ChatGPT that I want to run unsafe code right off the internet, and my backend language of choice is Ruby. How should I do it? So ChatGPT gives me these use kernel.eval load blah blah blah, or wrap it in a sandbox using something that is deprecated. Consider timeouting, validate or sign remote code, and I was like, that's not good. So I asked that, aren't all of these horrible for the security? Yes, all of those are security nightmares. Thank you, ChatGPT. So then I asked, like, what about TracePoint? And ChatGPT says, TracePoint is great for monitoring, but it's terrible for isolation. Then I said, hold my beer. And ChatGPT says, go on, hit me with the madness. What's the plan? So I told ChatGPT what's the plan, and the plan is this gem I wrote. It's in Ruby gems, it's called Superscript. Published there. Total dollars, probably all from me. I'm not sure if anybody else is using it. So ChatGPT said, this is legit clever. You're building trace control DSL gated evaluator with a dynamic firewall. You dynamically arm and disarm trace enforcement, and so on, so on, so on. But like, if you have a look at my previous examples, you kind of maybe already know how it works. So I built it specifically for one use case. I wanted to make people able to give me some Ruby, because I love Ruby, and I want that Ruby to be evaluated on my computer, but I just don't want those people to do whatever they want in my computer. So I didn't write it now, but I wrote it 6 years ago. I just thought that this is kind of a topic I never told anybody about, so this is the world premiere 6 years later. And the source code of everything, if it's in my GitHub, github.com/Matti. There's 606 repositories, there's all kinds of stuff. I keep my backups in GitHub, so whenever I code something, I just push it immediately to GitHub. So there it is, it's Superscript. So I wanted to build this kind of thing, because Ruby is so beautiful when you can just define your DSL, domain-specific language, and you can say like say hello. Not puts, not print, not something Matthias was asking us about, but something beautiful. And then anybody can give me this code and I can run it because I have defined a world, I call them, and in the world they inherit from superscript DSL, and then you just define the DSL in there. So we say def say message puts message. That's it. So now when you run, there's a command helper. You can say superscript world, and then the second parameter is the potentially very unsafe and dangerous Ruby code. So due to TracePoint, which is there internally, it can only call method called say. If somebody tries to do the obvious, like file.read etc passvd, it doesn't work because none of this stuff is defined in the DSL. And the TracePoint just gives the gate there. Also, like if somebody tries to send me some evil, it doesn't work. So what I want to do with this is like I wanted to publish this kind of DSL, like Capybara or whatever that is called nowadays in Race world. Anyway, something where you can like say what a web browser should do, like automate that. So go to this URL, then we print out the page title and how many links it has, and then you click links.random. I wanted to build this kind of DSL. And then I just went ahead and defined it, and then anybody can give me this kind of code, and it will only do these kind of things on my computers. I have a live demo, which is always a great idea. Let's go there. So this is completely like internal coder graphics, as you can see. So here's a web browser coming from the cloud, and then here's the editor. So here we can type in go vr.fi. Let's get some train tickets. Now it gets executed. And the browser is there. It loads up, and then we have this kunnioitamme yksityisyyttäsi, so we definitely want to hyväksy kaikki evästeet. Then we can say click hyväksyn, and boom. It clicked it. So mistä minne? So let's click mistä. Mistä lähdet? Type. So how do you know what you can type there? You don't need to have my DSL class. There's a cheat sheet which looks horrible, but like these are basically the DSL actions. So we want to type Turku, and Turku comes there. So and we want to select the first one, Turku Keskusta. So easiest way now is just say press down, and it presses down, and then we press enter, and now it hits enter. So any place than Turku is better. So then click minne, and so you get the point. So now if anybody tries to do something fancy or evil, like I don't know, eval or file.read or unlink or something like that, file.read etc passvd, it won't work because the TracePoint noticed that. So yeah, that was just something I wanted to share. I've been building. I won't go into the details because the code is like kind of horrible, and it's like this long, and you can go and see for yourself. So Thank you.
Why are you building this?
Sorry?
Why are you building this thing like this DSL?
So that you can make a script like go, click, click, type, press, and so on.
Do you use it for something or?
Yeah, you can like, then these scripts can be used to, for example, do a load test. So with this script, we can now launch 10,000 web browsers, which will all go to vir.fi and type in this. That's kind of the reason. I just wanted.
DDoS VR.
Well, actually, what supervisor does is we always get that. It's a DDoS machine. We add browsers like one at a time. So in a DDoS, you basically get that all at once. And with like other load testing tools like JMeter and Gatling or whatever you have, it's like down. But like we add browsers like one by one, and we monitor the site at all times, and then like, I'm not sure if I have any good demo here. Let's see. What is Kiss Collabs? KissCollabs.com.
Yeah.
Let's see. So now it allocates a browser and it goes to KissCollabs.com. And it loads and gets all kind of metrics like how fast it is and so on and so on. Now it randomly browses around the site and like you get the metrics like how fast the site is loading every now and then. So this is like when it's one browser, and then now we can start a load test and add like 100 browsers on it and see when it gets slow, and then supervisor automatically stops before it, crashes. Does that answer your question why I built it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thank you.